While Chaz and Chuckie are walking through their neighborhood, all their neighbors make a big deal over Chuckie's red hair, which he inherited from his dad. After arriving at Stu and Dee Dee's house, Chuckie explains to Tommy that he hates the excessive attention and mockery he gets because of his red hair. At that moment, with baby's nose, Grandpa Lou, his suddenly black and solid hair, he tells the other adults he saw the product on TV the other day and decided to try it on his gray hair. Seeing this, the babies get an idea and head to the bathroom. When there, they find the hair product Lou purchased and Tommy puts it in Chuckie's hair. The adults, of course, notice what's happened, but it's too late to save Chuckie's hair. It's all black and as solid as Lou's. Chuckie is at first delayed because he doesn't stand out anymore, therefore the neighbors no longer fuss over him. However, he soon realizes that nobody, even his friends, notices him, period. A couple of ladies see the entire group playing in the park and fuss over Tommy, Phil, and Lil, who completely ignore Chuckie. Angelica comes over and pushes everybody down except for Chuckie. After this, he begins to cry. He explains that he didn't want to be ignored this much. He actually misses people paying attention to him and telling him how great his hair is. Meanwhile, Chuckie is oblivious to the sun coming out from behind the clouds and the black shell over his hair cracking and crumbling, revealing his old red hair underneath. The other babies alert Chuckie to this, and he rushes to a puddle and looks at his reflection. Chuckie's overjoyed to see his red hair back again. Suddenly, Dee Dee screams because it turns out that it didn't only happen to Chuckie. Now Grandpa Lou has hair as red as Chuckie's. Lou discovers the sunlight did something to the color of the dye, and he learns that never fool with Mother Nature or buy hair dye off daytime television. Thankfully, Angelica even pushes Chuckie onto his butt, and he lands in the puddle, proudly stating, "I'm a redhead again." One evening, Spike chases an insect out of the Pickles' garden. Upon losing it, he runs off down the road. Once realizing Spike is missing, Stu searches these streets by foot. However, he fails to find Spike. Tommy and Chuckie, who is staying with the Pickles while Chaz, his father, is at a conference, hear that Spike has run away. Tommy, however, isn't concerned, thinking positive that Spike will be back soon. Days go by as Dee Dee drives Tommy and Chuckie around town to look for Spike. Tommy sees a dog that looks like Spike rummaging through a garbage can. When Dee Dee pulls up, they find that the dog is a stray who growls fiercely at them, much to their dismay. Also put up flyers but receive no word. Stu and Dee Dee go to the dog pound to report Spike missing, but the warden doesn't give them much hope. Tommy realizes that Spike might never come back and starts crying. Chuckie comforts Tommy. After seeing Tommy and Chuckie sitting by Spike's empty doghouse looking thoroughly depressed, Dee Dee decides it's time to move on and get a new pet to replace Spike so the babies won't feel lonely anymore. Lou objects to this, knowing that Stu won't approve. Dee Dee admits that it will be hard on everyone at first, but she thinks it's for the best. Dee Dee brings home a poodle named Cuddles. Although Cuddles seems like Dee Dee, she hates Stu and the babies, taking and wrecking their toys, eating their cookies, constantly barking, and in Stu's case, biting at them, and refusing to share Dee Dee, because it's obviously not going to work out. Dee Dee returns Cuddles to the man she bought her from. She reports that he is promptly bitten by Cuddles once she got through the door. Stu suggests they get a boa constrictor, because he had one as a kid and almost ate Drew once. Dee Dee refuses to allow a snake in the house, knowing that it might eat Tommy. Dee Dee suggests a parrot, but Stu says that he heard parrots live to be over 100, and they don't want something that old in the house besides Lou, who's looking for his trust. Stu goes to a pet store with a different idea in mind: turtles. The salesman discourages Stu from getting a turtle because of the horror stories he's heard about them. Stu asks if he has anything he can recommend. Stu, to Dee Dee's horror, comes home with a tarantula. Stu insists the tarantula is friendly, and he even had him defanged so he can't bite. Stu named the spider Terry and asks Dee Dee if she wants to pet him. Dee Dee quickly replies, maybe later. So Terry is introduced to Tommy and Chuckie. They let Terry out of his container to try and have him play with them. Instead, the spider wanders through the house, eventually ends up in Lou's room and on his bed, where he's currently sleeping, but soon wakes. Back in the kitchen, Stu has just revealed Terry cost $50 when they hear Lou scream upstairs. Moments later, he walks into the kitchen with a wad of tissues. He explains that there was a huge spider in his room, but it's okay because he got him. So he throws the tissue at the dead spider in the trash. The next pets are a pair of gerbils named Tanya and Rupert. Stu purchased an elaborate habitat for the gerbils, which Dee Dee finds impressive, though she doubts their ability to turn on the jacuzzi. Tommy and Chuckie watch the gerbils and decide to let them out of their habitat. The gerbils run out and promptly vanish, and nobody can find them. 2 weeks later, the grown-ups know the gerbils haven't left because they kept finding their presents all over the house. Tommy and Chuckie decide to try and find gerbil presents and are disappointed when they find it's actually gerbil poop. They hear a noise coming from the basement door, thinking the real presents are downstairs. They open the door. The floor is moving, Chuckie exclaims. Stu finds them moments later and also looks downstairs. It turns out the gerbils have been reproducing in mass numbers. Sometime later, Tommy and Chuckie are in bed and missing Spike. Tommy hopes that Spike is happy on Jupiter because, according to Chuckie, dogs love it there. Downstairs, Dee Dee and Stu are talking about how they haven't had any luck with new pets. Looks like Spike will never come back. Just as they're thinking about how awful it must be on the streets for Spike, a doorbell rings. To their surprise, at the door is a very wealthy-looking man who explains he recently found a well-bred Siberian tiger hound. He says that he intended to keep the dog and breed him, but upon seeing the Pickles ad in the paper, he decided to return him. The Siberian tiger hound turns out to be none other than Spike! Stu wants to wake up Tommy right away and show him. Dee Dee says they ought to wait until morning since it's late, but Spike rushes upstairs in his zone and jumps into the crib. Tommy and Spike are both overjoyed to be back together again, and he giggled around. Spike licks his face.